Hi. You know, there's a lot of things that go on in families. Again, some of them are wonderful, but there's some real things we have to watch out for. When we think back to our own childhood, what are some of the things that we remember? Well, we remember competing with our siblings, getting into rivalries with them. We remember times when we were in the doghouse, or somebody else was, and how sometimes that turned into a habit of just constantly being the one who wasn't okay anymore in the family. And then, of course, there's those memories of times when we felt like we were being bossed around. We felt like one of our parents, dad or mom, was just so overbearing. So some of these things are things worth talking about. Rivalries, scapegoating, and acting out. Starting with rivalries. As a parent yourself, or perhaps a manager in a company, it's kind of like you're the parent. The most important thing you can promote, of course, is cooperation, teamwork. But a lot of people didn't grow up that way, and so we need to train ourselves to look at that situation, whatever it is, day to day, as an opportunity to promote cooperation. Here's the opposite: competition. Competition is very good in many ways, in certain circumstances, but when it comes to creating harmony and being productive, being creative, cooperation is the way to go. You don't want to pit people against each other. That's rule number one. You don't talk about one employee or one kid with the others. That just creates a division. You don't want to model any kind of behavior that you don't want to see in them. So often our kids start doing things we wonder, how did that happen? How are they acting like that? Or employees. And then if we're honest with ourselves, we realize they're just copying me. That's what we want to avoid. Again, awareness is the key. And being good to yourself and gentle with yourself. Say you've been making mistakes all along. You can always change. You have the free will, always, to think things through with your right mind and to make changes. Now let's talk about scapegoating. Scapegoating is one of the saddest things that can happen in a family, and many families do have a black sheep. I have a friend who was her family's black sheep. When she grew up, somehow she just seemed to goof up all the time. She was the one who spilled her milk at the table. Almost every day there'd be a spilled milk. She would break things. She was kind of awkward and a little clumsy as a kid, constantly breaking things. Didn't mean to. She was curious. So she did things that didn't go over very big, like seeing what would happen if the bathtub overfilled. Where would the water go? Stuff like that. Well, she really got a reputation as being a difficult kid, as being somebody that you had to constantly get on their case. As time went by, she kind of filled the role. She said, I became more and more what they didn't want me to be. I started then to even get some satisfaction out of doing these things, because I was oftentimes blamed for things that I didn't even do, but they just assumed I had. She ended up being estranged from her family for years and years and years. I made the suggestion that she approach her parents and tell them exactly what her point of view was, but in a very gentle way. It's a happy ending to that story. Everyone realized the part they played in that drama that created that situation. It was sad that they were separated from each other all those years. The parents were bewildered. They really didn't understand. And she had a lot of toxicity down deep inside that she had to get rid of. And that's before she went to her parents. She worked it out. She realized they were doing the best they could. They didn't realize what they were doing, perhaps to some degree, but not in the fullest sense, how they were hurting her and themselves. Last, acting out. Of all the things that can happen in a family, that's probably the most destructive when it is hurting someone with names, maybe even physically hurting them. And I'm talking now about abuse. Anger management does not include abuse of any kind. It does not include accepting abuse just to keep the peace. Whenever abuse occurs, someone acts out and they don't stop themselves. They are tyrannical. They are hurtful. They are out of control. Usually it's because they themselves are in a great deal of pain inside. There's something inside that hasn't been resolved within them. And so they act it out, usually with a lot of unawareness of just how bad it is. That's the time we need to seek professional help. That's the time when major changes have got to be made in order to bring the situation back to a healthy situation. So those are my final thoughts about anger in your family. Your family is the most important place when you are a child, and also as a grown-up in a family. That is the crucible. There's a line in a song by Leonard Cohen. It starts in your family and then it comes around to your soul. That's why we need to do everything we can at home and at work with our co-workers and our employees, our boss, to bring harmony to the situation. Take care.